Let's have another change in scenery, because I want to revisit a topic that we've covered on this channel before, Cerakey ceramic keycaps. See, a couple hours after releasing my video on the version 1s, I checked my email and I saw that they just started selling the version 2s. Now if you watched that video, you'd probably remember that I had a minor issue with the first generation ceramic keycaps. They wouldn't stay on. Well, before we get into the version 2s and see if they fixed that issue, I want to see if their version of the quote-unquote tape mod works. Apparently you're supposed to put these tiny little strips of tape on top of the switches, and that's supposed to help with the tolerances. Kinda like how I stuffed my Cerakey keycaps with tissue paper. Their video only shows putting on a single strip, so that's what I'm going to try. Well, it seems to have worked for the first keycap, but it doesn't really feel tight like a keycap normally does. The second keycap was fine as well, but the third one didn't fare so well. More layers of tape might have helped, but I'd rather just move on to the version 2 since that's what you're all here to see. I wasn't sure if they were going to be any good, so I bought 3 of them. I definitely don't have a spending problem, and it was totally for scientific purposes. One thing to note is that the packaging is actually slightly different. The Cerakey logo is actually printed on the cardboard boxes of the V2s, whereas the V1 was on the plastic, shrouding it. The plastic inside the box covering the keycaps from the V1s also don't fit inside of the V2s. Now the main difference between the first and second generation keycaps is that it is no longer completely ceramic. As you can see, they've opted to instead glue plastic stems onto the bottom of the keycaps to fix the tolerance issues that some people were having with the originals. So to test them out, we'll be using my one-piece keyboard because it is somehow the only keyboard I have with a normal bottom row. In addition to the plain black keycaps, I also got the crazed variant, a set that to me looks a lot like cracked ice. This one has some specific changes in the V2 as well, but we'll be talking about that later. I was actually going to build a keyboard with these, but certain issues led me to making this video instead. What doesn't have issues though are these plain white keycaps. They're absolutely gorgeous and I can't wait to use them in a future build. Honestly, I probably should have gotten these instead of the black ones when I ordered the V1s. But enough about the past, how did a V2 sound? Considering how the Azure Dragons are a pretty clacky switch, that sounds pretty good in my opinion. So let's move on to the one issue I have with the V2s, specifically with the crazed colorway. See how the black keycaps are shaped like a normal keycap and how it's concave? Well, the crazed keycaps aren't like that. They're a lot pudgier. It feels like they have a lot more material on them, making them slightly convex, and it feels slightly unnatural to type on. This is probably because they have an extra layer of coating on them to help the pattern from fading. While I'm sure I could get used to the touch feel of them, it also introduces an issue with the sound. Let's replace the entire bottom row with the crazed keycaps and listen closely, see if you can hear what I'm talking about. Can you hear it? Pressing on most of the bottom row causes the keycaps to hit each other, making this really unpleasant noise. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just a spacing on the back of Neko's PCB, so I tried them on the QK100 as well. Unfortunately, the problem persists, and it sounds really bad on the keyboard I was going to use these keycaps on. I've managed to find some ways of ordering the keys so that the issue is minimized, but I can't get rid of it completely. It does seem to be localized to just the bottom row of the crazed keycaps though. As you can see, the white keycaps have adequate space between each one, as do the black keycaps, but those are harder to show on camera. So do I think that Cerakey fixed the issues with the original ceramic keycaps? Well, when it comes to the tolerance issues of the keycaps not staying on the stems, and in some cases being too tight, then sure. If you've been thinking about getting ceramic keycaps, I wouldn't let that issue scare you off, but if you're thinking about getting the crazed colorways, maybe wait for version 3. Thanks for watching all the way to the end, and subscribe if you want to see what I have planned for the black and white keycaps, and let me know what you think. Are the crazed keycaps pretty enough to warrant using them even with the sound issues? See you in the next video. Bye!